I'm ready when you are.
Okay. All right, guys, I'm excited today.
Don't worry, he's a dipshit, it's fine.
Take two.
Take two.
We're here with Shawn Baca at Industrial Injections headquarters, and I'm excited because this is we brought the dumpster to Dyno engine here from Richfield, got it off the trailer, and we're going to assemble it today. Baca, how many of these things have you assembled?
Too many to remember.
Thousands? In the thousands? Probably.
Yeah,
it's probably
it's
right
up-
up there
it's
in the
up there.
thousands. So I'm excited because
This is actually the cool part we get to see now. We get to see.
you don't have a mic.
something-
We can't hear you.
You're gonna hear me, it's fine. I'm sure you'll hear me. If not, cut it out. But this is the exciting part because we get to actually see all the hard work that we put into this thing. Well, Scott put into this thing. Actually get put together and see something come together.
Yeah, I'm excited to put it together and to learn from Shawn, who's assembled, you know, thousands of these. So, what's the next step?
We got to get it off the pallet, cut it open. We'll get it up, break the main caps off, wire wheel all the sealing surfaces, like the oil pan, front cover, rear cover.
So am I going to get dirty again?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Say we're gonna.
All right, I'll cut it open. Let's do it.
All right, now you guys can build it. I'm gonna go take a nap.
You're cutting it all wrong.
Well, how do you want me to cut it?
Yeah, so we'll wire wheel like where this tappet cover seals up, where the fuel pump seals up, rear housing, oil pan here, and then our oil cooler.
Okay.
Then we'll throw it on the washer and scrub all our oil galleys.
What are you doing?
Oh, you know, hanging out.
You got a nice sweater on.
Thank you. I made it myself. I knitted it. So on the 12 out, well, typically on every Cummins, the higher RPM you spin, you create a lot of coolant pressure in the system. And typically, this is the one that pops out because you get a little bit of block distortion plus the added pressure. You'll pop this back plug out.
Okay.
So since we're going billet grease plugs, we're gonna pop all of them out, prep the surfaces in there for when we put the new ones in. That way we
Okay.
don't
So
have
we need
do
to
it
pop
after.
that out right
Yep.
now.
And then, so on these, you don't want to hit directly in the center because you'll hit the back of the, if you hit it hard enough, you'll hit the back of the cylinder. So you want to go at an angle because there's grooves around this for the coolant to flow,
Okay.
right? So we're going to go on an angle, kind of pop it up a little bit.
Just
Don't
enough to get
don't
under
get
it.
too crazy with it and just pop it right
Okay.
out. So yeah,
'Cause,
see,
yeah, you can F up the
I've
cylinder.
actually seen people try to drill these out and they don't know that the cylinder's back there and they drill the hole all the way into,
Oh,
into
geez.
on a brand new engine.
Huh.
So now that this is out, I'll grab the
Hit-
wire wheel and we'll wire wheel
that's-
this,
Okay.
this hole. And then obviously on the sides, we'll do the same thing with the freeze plugs. Actually,
Oh,
you,
okay.
you can do that right now.
All right.
Same thing,
Just kind of angle
angle it.
on
And
the
on the
down
common
side.
rails, there's a lip on the inside of there, so you have to figure out which side it is. I can't remember, but just aim for the corner and on this. We just got some solvent here. Just spray the cylinders, each oil passage. See all that crap coming out of
Holy
there?
moly. That one came out juicy.
Yeah, so you might have to do this a few times. This is what I was talking about. We're gonna have to wash it, check it, wash it, check it.
All right, I have a feeling that this shirt is gonna get ruined, so let's go shopping. What we're looking for. That's just the standard corporate logo shirt right there. That's exactly what I want, just something simple. Get that in large, because I don't have one of those. I don't have this one. I want that one. I like that one though. We'll go that one. And we'll call that good for shirts. But I do want some hats too. So I have one of these lighter ones. I want a dark. People love these hats and they're one of our best sellers. I want that one. And I want the camo big corporate logo on there. So there we go, shopping. We're gonna put that on Brett's tab.
Go ahead and turn it.
There's this ding right here in the block that we showed when it originally came out of the garbage, just so we knew that everybody knew that we weren't.
It was the same one.
It was the same block, yeah.
So on these, you got your oil spring.
Okay.
It don't really matter how you put them in, as long as you, so you want this 180 of that gap, right? And then obviously there's a direction on these. You're gonna look for that little mark right there on these, and that goes up.
Okay.
So see how there's a gap here?
Yep.
You want this gap on the opposite side of that,
Okay.
and then up.
And
then
this one goes down here?
on the bottom one. It goes around the spring.
Oh, it goes
So
around.
this
Okay,
is a spring,
okay.
and this is your oil control. And what that does is pushes against the cylinder walls, scrapes the oil down, gives it a nice thin coating for the rest of the rings. And then on these, same thing. You'll look for the indicators. See how it says top right there?
Okay.
And then right there it says top on that one. Obviously that
Okay,
goes
so
up.
this one goes over that spring.
Correct.
Then the next one is this one.
Yep.
And then the next one is this one.
Yep.
Just that one on the spring you just want it to.
Correct. There's actually a lot that goes on while you're putting these on that you don't really see that you want to focus on. What I'm doing here, oh here a minute, is checking the rings while I'm installing them, making sure they turn. Sometimes you'll maybe open a box, there might be a damaged pistons or whatever, or maybe a burr on the ring, but you always want to give them a good twist, make sure they're floating in there, because if these bind up, you're gonna have some sealing issues. And the main thing on the rings, this one controls your oil, and the other two are gonna be controlling the combustion event, making sure none of it's going past the rings and it's all gonna go out the cylinder, harness all the power. Because there is a balance between having too tight of a ring gap and too loose of a ring gap. The end right here, because as the engine heats up, the block expands, the pistons expand, so you gotta have room for everything to expand, and then obviously you add boost and all that, you get more heat. You wanna have enough room in there for when this expands that there's enough room between this end and this end, because if they touch, what happens is they expand so much they actually collapse. There's no room to grow if you don't have enough clearance in there. What they do is they expand, everything contacts, superheats, and then collapses. You lose your spring pressure, therefore you lose your seal, and then you get blow by, and it's just one thing after another, and you're down a cylinder. So 12 valves, they have a direction on the piston, so you see this round and the bowl's off center, right? Because our injector is pointed like this. So you can put these in backwards. I've done it before, it happens, but
How's it run?
I never got that far because I went to set the valves and it wouldn't set. So I had to tear the whole thing apart, flip the pistons around, and because it had a big cam, luckily that saved me. But yeah, you got to pay attention to that. The direction of the rods can either go this way or this way, obviously. So between 5, 9, 6, 7, 12, and 24 valve, they each have their own orientation. It just depends on which rod it is and what you're doing.
Okay.
Just want to say, this is still built for the Dyno block. See our marks that were all the way.
I already pointed that out.
Right here, what I'm doing, making sure I'm in the groove. I'm not only installing it, but I'm making sure I'm in the groove by giving it a little turn.
Okay. Yeah.
So when you see me doing that, it's just little tricks that you pick up along the way to reassure yourself that that thing's set where it needs to be set. Because on the big engines, you start making big power, those things will pop right out.
What's the trick here, mister?
Make sure it's square and don't force it. Treat it like your old lady.
Oh, there you go. That worked.
Just for pain.
There's a fine thread and a thick thread. I figured that out on my own. Can you believe that? I'm learning here.
You got to pay attention to these
that
because
hole?
these are what's called a saddle jet. And so where these ride is on the main bearings, and it takes oil from the main bearing and sprays it on the bottom of the piston to cool the piston off. So if you ever have an engine failure and you don't run new squirters, you want to inspect these, because if there's a bearing failure, all the bearing material will be packed in these pistons, in these squirters, because they're sitting in the saddle, right? So on the common rail, they actually made you plug all those holes off, and they have on the other side of the block an actual dedicated oil rifle to, they're called J-jets, which does the same thing as these. It squirts oil on the bottom of the piston to keep it cool. That way it doesn't expand, cause all sorts of problems like that. But these are saddle jets, and they sit right here inside the bottom of the main cap, or in the main bore. Well, technically this will be the top. Now we can insert our bearings. We got our jets in. We can cut those bearings open. These are the uppers. This is your lower set.
You learning something, Scotty?
I'm maybe.
Just trying
This
to take,
one goes here, right?
yeah, this is your thrust. Your number 6 journal.
I can't get that in there straight though. Is there a technique to this?
Yeah, so here, let me show you. You're gonna wanna grab it, put the notch in, and instead of sliding it down, you're gonna wanna put a little pressure and push that way, and then slide down. That way it doesn't peel up the back of the bearing and create a burr or any of that stuff.
What about this one?
Those are kind of, sometimes they're a little tight, and you have to bump these ones down. So yeah.
Oh, that's heavy.
Yeah.
I'm a cowboy. On a steel horse I ride.
Chill.
Where do we want this thing?
Right here.
Should we
over
throw our food away?
Set it right there on the floor. Scooter's first 12 valve.
Oh yeah. I like the idea of doing a 12 valve just because it's mechanical. You know, I like the idea of having everything be mechanical into a 56 Ford. But then also a common rail would be cool. But then you have to have a computer and I don't know.
Yeah, but then you got full control of everything.
I know.
I mean, you do. I'm not gonna say full control. I'm gonna say more control.
More control?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on to number 6 journal.
Is that it?
Yep. I'm
Okay.
ready when you are.
Okay. Whew, that was kind of heavy. Look at Tyler Kipp here. He's been all domesticated. He's getting married in a couple months. He has his Stanley. He has his Stanley.
It's a hydro jug.
Oh,
Check it
a
out.
hydro jug with a little
Do you trust me?
with a little straw.
Look at that, man.
Look
See
at-
that? Fucking
He's
works
all
great.
fancy now.
Strong, works great.
Holy moly.
Bunch of Chinese garbage. Okay, so that's even better. We found a dumpster front cover.
The dumpster to go on the
dumpster
dumpster.
to Dyno. So
I'll go delete it off.
delete that off there. If she brings it up, I'll tell her to take it back and put it back.
Can these 180 or do they
Yeah,
all
so what
go
we're doing is, see this
Oh,
tang?
okay, yeah.
You're going tang and then
tang to tang?
see where that B and the K is?
Uh-huh.
Somewhere along the lines, they lost the A and the C. Some of them say back on the back of them,
Oh.
but I always look at the bearing, tang to tang. Some engines go opposite. Bearings are critical, just like I said, on tolerances and all that stuff, and then obviously the integrity of it.
All right.
But you start getting into that big power zone and all sorts of stuff starts moving and flexing, and you have to do stuff to combat that, like better material bearings, better material, you know, like our girdle, these studs, lock everything down a little bit better. Because distortion is pretty bad on these engines, especially on these older ones, because the casting's not really there, and these things make so much power, they literally destruct themselves. I mean,
Pretty good looking block though, huh?
yeah, I mean, back in the day, there wasn't a whole lot of engines that you can make 1,000 horsepower with stock without even opening it up, and like these were up there. But now you have LSs and everyone else making big power. Obviously, they're different applications, different cylinder pressures and stuff, but these Cummins, they're over-engineered. They're still running the same setup all the way up till today, you know.
First time.
Yep. It's a little slippery.
This is just a double check everything.
It's a little piece of plastic, or what is it?
It's like a wax.
Wax?
Grease.
Shawn wasn't there to see the machine work happen. This is a little know that we got the right bearings, the right.
Yeah, I mean, this is all standard bearing, standard crank. You guys mic'd everything out. We should just be able to toss it all together, check clearance, and it's good to be good.
Hey, one thing that we need to make sure we don't show on.
Goddamn, you need some wheel stoppers on this.
Guys, put your foot into it.
Put some ass behind that torque wrench.
I am.
I thought you said you could squat 400 pounds.
Well, it's the fucking thing's moving. You want me to push instead of pull?
Yeah,
I loosened that for you. What the hell
pushing's
kind of
easier than pulling, isn't it? Isn't that what they said?
No, pushing's not easier than pulling. Yeah, Baca's like,
Bust this off here.
Oh, crap.
This
Come and
is-
look at the pink thing.
This is our plastic gauge reading.
Perfect. Dialed.
Yeah.
3,000.
Oh yeah,
What'd I say?
3,000.
I just looked at it and called it 3,000.
You're used to looking at tiny things.
Nice and smooth.
Is it smooth and buttery? Oh yeah.
Okay, so now we got our crank in.
Dumpster to dyno.
We're gonna check our end play, which is crank going back and forth.
Okay.
We usually land right around 7 to 10 thou.
That doesn't look like that much.
10 thou.
Was it?
Yeah, look.
Yeah.
0,
Wow.
10, that's good.
That's the killer dowel pin because I guess it just loosens up over time and falls out and falls into the gears and screws it all up. So there's this little kit that we have that just, it bolts in one of these holes, right? And just holds it in. Is that how
Yep.
it works?
This guy here, it's universal because there's two different styles of covers, but basically that'll sit just like that and hold it in.
Yeah. Pretty simple, but
Cummins corrected the cover, so like if you look on this cover right here, that's where your pin's gonna be. Cummins redesigned this and they shrouded that to where it won't back out. Here, blow that off again. Yeah, so you can see here, see how this cover's not shrouded? You can take a chisel, stake that down, and hopefully that won't pop out, but with our little tab deal, it's a surefire way of making sure that thing don't ever come out. Line it up so it's directly over the top of the pin, just like that.
you mark the ones that you've torqued. Merlin was telling me as I took it up, is it this one? He said you gotta, everybody does it on every first time they do a 12 valve. They over torque something and it breaks. Wow, it's in the first video, and it was something on the front cover. Is it this? What pump is this?
The oil pump?
Oil pump. I'm gonna have to reference that.
The oil pump on it comes in seals on this plate only. These are suspended off the block. You slowly hand tighten them in an X pattern.
Okay.
And then
Right to their torque.
right to their torque spec. And then you stop. Otherwise you'll split the pump in half.
And
I've
everybody's
seen it.
first build does it.
Everybody's
Three
first
ti-
build does it.
three
Everybody's.
times. Usually-
Everybody's.
Because there was something he said everybody over torques it and then they crack something and then it ends
All
up
four tight.
leaking.
Now we look for our timing mark, which would be this guy here, 0. And then we come over to our cam gear here, 00, right there. And then a 0 there for the pump. Nine times out of 10, you go dot to double dot, dot, double dot. So like there would be a double dot on the pump gear.
Okay.
But P pumps don't have a timing mark because they're all timed individually, right? So this is a pretty hard process of getting these in if you haven't done it a lot.
So you said that the 00 goes to this 0 on the crank, so
dot, double dot, dot, double dot. Typically that's how most engines go,
Okay.
but it's always good to reference the manual if it's dot to dot. Okay. See if you can slide that bad boy.
So it's about the
Yeah,
same
you-
thing that I like. You got to be square.
You
to
got to
it.
balance it. Make sure, don't take out all the bearings. Don't knock all the lifters. Nice and smooth.
I think that's right, isn't it?
Yep. Spin this a little bit and it'll line it up perfectly. And then this guy is our cam retainer, so we gotta slide this out just a little bit to where we can get this guy up behind there. You'll see on a lot of the big power 12 valves, they'll go straight cut gears. That way the gears aren't trying to walk away from each other.
Oh, because it's the angled.
Correct.
Okay.
Think?
20 minutes?
What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know. I've never done one before. I don't know how long it takes. That reminded me of I'm Back to the Future 2. Principal Strickland comes up to Biff and he's like, "Is that liquor I smell, Tannen?" "Well, I don't know. I don't know what liquor smells like because I'm too young to drink it."
Is that liquor I smell, Tannen?
I wouldn't know. I don't know what liquor smells like because I'm too young to drink it.
I see.
So that's the oil cooler.
Correct. This has coolant going through it, or sorry, coolant on the outside and oil going through the center of it. We got it all stripped, blasted, refurbed. All our threads look great. Regulator spot looks good. So what this does, it's called a bypass valve. If your oil filter gets clogged, this guy will open up and still let the oil flow. Also, when you first start your engine, the oil is cold and super thick. The filter can only flow so much. So this is gonna be, you're gonna be in bypass until the oil gets thin enough to where it can completely flow through the filter itself. So that's what we do on big race engines, that you don't want any of the, you want filtered oil all the time, right? So we eliminate these on the bigger race engines. That way we're getting filtration all the time, but you have to be mindful of your oil temperature because you blow the oil O-ring right out your oil filter. Seat that guy, blow him out. Controls the oil flow. So when this goes up and down, regulates the oil pressure.
Does it just go up and down based on the pressure itself?
Pretty
is
much the
something-
volume. The spring controls the pressure.
Okay.
You can
so-
put upgraded
okay.
springs in to hold it down some more if you want it to generate some more pressure. You can shim it. You can do a couple different things. Depends on how trick you want to get with it. So lube everything up. Lube those, lube the O-ring. Drop this guy down in.
Those holes.
Start on one. Drop the crank down to the bottom. What do you think, Scooter?
I'm excited.
I'll do 3 and then you do the last 3, okay?
Okay, we can do that.
How's that? Does that work for
Sounds like a plan.
you? So on these, you want it like a peace sign. You don't want them all lined up, right? Because it'll create a channel. We don't want that. The idea for the crosshatch is A, for oil, to keep a little bit of oil in there for lubricity, and B, to keep these rings turning. And another thing on these rings is to keep the ring lands clean while they turn. Pounds out all the carbon and just keeps it clean and rotating. I've seen engines that have so many miles on them, it actually creates a ridge in the top of the cylinder to where you can't even get the piston out because it's catching on the dang lip of the cylinder. And then another thing as I'm doing this, rotating the rings, making sure they're free again. And then I'm also checking the direction you have these in, making sure they're all placed correctly, right? And then obviously line them up. And then as I'm clamping down on this guy here, come on, she's a little worn out. I'm making sure the rings still move. Because if we put them in and something's bound up, we start slamming it down, it's gonna break a ring. And you wanna try and be as easy as possible because you don't want a broken ring on a fresh engine because
No.
you gotta go right back in. Okay, so I got that. Flip her over and we'll throw our caps on. We know we're running standard size stuff, so we can just.
So you're making sure that the two pistons you're putting in on these cylinders, the crank is down as far as it can go. So then they drop down into place,
So
right?
they clear, yeah.
Yeah.
But as far as like we'll plastic gauge the last one. Like you guys have already spec'd all this stuff out. I measured our bearings. We have all the same bearings. The crank hasn't been ground. The rods are all the same size. So ideally we should be within factory spec, right? So we'll just check it all, double check all the measurements with the plastic gauge, verify that everything is done correctly down there. And we got free, everything's spinning good. And then on these, same thing on these, tang to tang. And then some of these will be numbered, but it's kind of hard to see all the numbers on them. So it's just keep in mind when you're assembling what to look for.
Yeah.
And you throw a little bit of lube on our bolts.
And you wait to torque them all at once?
Yeah, I'll zip them down, get them all snugged up, make sure everything spins. No binding, no weirdness going on, you know. And then another thing, when you zip these down, you want to check your side to side, because if you have a wrong bearing or misplaced bearing or something's goofy, you have to have clearance on each side of the rod because oil has to get on both sides, right? And the oil has to escape the bearing. So you want to make sure you have a little bit of clearance on each end. There is a spec. Like I said, 2/1000 is plenty. You don't want a ton of, you don't want it banging around in there, but you want enough room for oil to get in and out. Go ahead and flip this back up.
So you always kind of go like this.
Yeah, I'll set it in there, kind of set it on the edge. And then your rings are all good. They're all the right direction. And it don't really matter like I've been putting this gap over here and this gap over here. It doesn't really matter as long as they're separated. Because like I said, they'll constantly turn in there as they should. And you should be able to pick up the whole piston and everything. And slide it in, and then you want to keep a little constant pressure on that compressor, and then tap it in with the hammer. That's it.
You need anything else,
No,
or just
drop her
right there?
down.
All right. Rhett's going to be tested on this, and Rhett's going to have to put one together. No mentors, just the video. Yeah.
Bill?
What are you doing? You ready to go home?
Yeah. Just changing them.
He's got another pump?
We're gonna turn this into an XP pump now.
Oh, what is it?
It's out of a Roxor Jeep, those little 4-cylinder
Oh,
Roxor Jeeps.
yeah?
We're gonna XP it.
So we're right at, you want to check both sides of the piston, right? So we're right around 19 thousandths of protrusion, which is in spec. I want to say 24 thousandths is the spec on these.
You don't want to go any higher than 24,000.
Yeah, correct. And if we do have too much protrusion, they do make thicker gaskets, or we can machine the top of the pistons down and readjust everything. Well, then we'll double verify on all the pistons that were within spec.
We're rolling it over here to the sim tester machine, and what I think it is you bolt it up to it. I don't know if you bolt it, but it turns the crank and it simulates it running to make sure all the oil's going in. This is assumptions based on Uncle Scooter's knowledge that I don't have yet. So let's ask them what a sim actually does.
A sim what?
What does this actually? What a sim?
You're over here whispering into the
What a
mic.
sim actually does. A sim tester. Am I backwards?
Yeah, you gotta hook up to the cherry picker.
You're going in the outs, Scott.
I do that a
Out
lot.
the in.
Cut that out.
Send it to his wife.
So, what I was saying is, what a sim test does is it turns the crank and it puts oil through it to make sure oil's
Yeah,
getting.
essentially we're simulating the engine running.
Yeah.
All that does is just spin it over, actuates the oil pump, make sure everything's flowing, make sure no odd noises or any of that stuff, make sure all the plugs are sealed up.
See, I was pretty good. I kind of knew.
It also measures how much input it takes to go in and basically how much drag it takes to turn the engine over. Pull the front over, Scott.
Hey, you're getting spoiled here. Yeah. Look at this thing. That 56 Ford's not gonna know what to do.
I know. What? We've got to figure out how to put that thing together. It's in pieces, Bill said.
Yeah. It is, I saw it.
Did you?
It's in pieces. Didn't you see it?
I saw it. Yeah. But he's gathered even more pieces.
Oh, has he?
so
He's
there's
gonna
more.
build you. He wants to build a Cummins. He wants to put a Cummins in a 56 Ford, see it done at least in his lifetime. So he's gonna help you out with that thing.
Sweet. What am I doing?
Put that in your pocket.
I don't want it.
Throw it in the trash.
Spin her up, buddy.
What do I do? Push the big green button? Motor?
Motor, yeah, we're good. That's on. Just turn the dial.
I'll turn the dial.
Yeah.
Just slowly or faster?
Taking on oil pressure. Are you taking oil pressure?
Not yet.
What do you?
It's not sucking anything up yet.
Oil pressure.
Our gauge is on this side.
What's this one?
That's if you hook up.
That's
the
if you hook up the line directly to the block.
Okay. Is there oil pressure? How long does it take?
The thing just shut off, so it shouldn't start building. Shop's like, what the hell? There it goes. Boom. Little air.
It's that shitty Cummins oil pump. We got a leaker.
We got 2 leakers. That one's got a hole in the block. After all this, it's got to go back in the dumpster. The deck's cracked.
Wouldn't that be some shit?
Well, we've been saying that the whole time. Like every
Yeah,
next process.
It's got to go back to the dumpster.
He was trying to get away with not bolting the deck down. The deck's laid down all the way.
600 horsepower. That's what it says. Right, Tyler? Oh, 1,000. 1,000. Look at that.
Making almost 70 pounds of oil pressure. What's this say right here? How much drag? Like 13?
Like 13,
Yeah. Alright. We'll probably drop down to, once it warms up, we'll probably drop down to 11, 10.
What RPM is this?
Probably about 1,000 RPM. So here we want to listen for everything. No noise in the gear train. No knocking going on. Our lifters are moving. We got pressure. Make sure nothing's going on over here. If you slow it down, I can't hear the regulator from this side, but if you slow it down, you get it just right, you'll start hearing the regulator click. But it's working. And then we want to check, make sure our plug's not leaking here. Our cam's getting oil, we know that, so we can cap that off when we're done. See everything, we're getting good oil drain back. There's nothing crazy going on down there. Good work. And then up here, we're gonna watch our rings. Because if we put our rings in backwards, they'll scrape the oil going up, and this thing will be throwing oil. You'll suck all the oil out of the engine, pump it out the exhaust if you have your rings in backwards. So that's another thing we want to verify. We're not getting a ton of oil. We got a little oil on this piston from our leak here.
Yeah.
So wipe that guy off.